Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome to part 1 of my Dungeons & Dragons vs. Rick and Morty review. This is the second review of Dungeons & Dragons I'm doing on this channel. If you want to go check out the first video, you can. It was over the Stranger Things starter set. I'm going to be getting these starter sets out of the way as my group plays them. My group has currently finished the Lost Mines of Phandelver, so the literal D&D starter set, that's the name of that one. So hopefully those videos will be coming soon, but first we have this. Now I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently than I did my Stranger Things review, which I did all in one video. This one's actually going to be broken up into 2 videos. So I'm going to have this video right now that you're watching is going to be over the physical stuff. What kind of dice come in it, what kind of, characters, books, all that jazz. And then I'm going to do a second video covering my thoughts and opinions and how I felt about the adventure, what I liked about it, what I didn't like, what I think is cool, interesting, all that good stuff on specifically the adventure in another video where I'm just kind of talking about that. Might have the book with me, or probably with me in the video standing, that whole shebang like last time. So yeah, this one I might cover it just a little bit, but it'll be spoiler free. This one, if you're a player, if you plan on possibly playing this, or you hope your DM runs this for you, this is totally a video all of you can check out. It will be 100% spoiler free. So without further ado, let's delve into tabletop role-playing game adventures, Dungeons & Dragons vs. Rick and Morty. Now, if you've seen that name before, they did do a comic strip where it was the reverse. So it was Rick and Morty versus Dungeons & Dragons. And so they flipped that there for this official one. Now, let's go ahead and delve in. You can hear the dice rolling there. It's time for Rick to roll. Grab your pencils and lose your mind. Let's just take a check here. I've made a dungeon, Morty. Well, it's more than a dungeon. It's a freaking masterpiece. Packed full of Rickness, monsters, treasure, meeseeks, bugbear, butts, you name it. Can confirm all those things are in there. Since I made it, no one has ever survived this dungeon. It's a meat grinder, Morty. I made it to chew up the Jerrys of the world. Now all you mouth breathers in this dimension can experience my adventure writing ingenuity. So get all your friends and get in there, Morty. Oh, and don't lose your butt. There you have it, folks. Now, I will say, I have only recently gotten into Rick and Morty after playing through this set. So I enjoy the references and all that sort of thing much more in retrospect. So I'm glad I'm making this video after I've made it through the end of season 2, I believe, is right where I'm at right now. So if we go ahead and take a look here, this set includes a 64-page rulebook, which is, I think, tied for the biggest rulebook that comes in any of these starter sets. It's got the Lost Dungeon of Wickedness, the 44-page original adventure, which is, I'll cover that a little bit in this video, but not too much because that'll be video 2. A Dungeon Master screen, 5 pre-generated character, and then 11 polyhedral dice. I'm going to forewarn you guys, I actually recorded the very start of this video before, and I had forgotten to get the dice. I actually had gotten some of the dice, I'd forgotten to get all of the dice. So, without further ado, let's crack open the box here. So, obviously I have played this already. I've played it not only through with, I've played it through once and then a little bit of it again. But the box has been opened, the box has been used, so things have been put back in here. It'll obviously come with things, in plastic and whatnot. So first things first, let's take a look at our dice set. You can take a look there. Hopefully it will focus in there on the color scheme that these dice have adopted. They are all the same color, as you can see. Kind of gone for this weird kind of musty yellow and turquoise blue. That 5's a little messed up, but I assume that's just my set. I doubt they're all like that. And you could probably fill that in if you're into painting minis or anything. You could fill that 5 in pretty easily. Just dab a little bit of blue in there or something. But yeah, big deal here is that unlike the Stranger Things set, this one does come with what I consider a full set of dice. Now, yes, the Stranger Things came with every die you need. It came with a D20, D12, D8, D10, D6, and D4. It did not come with a nice set, like, for example, 2d20 for advantage and disadvantage, or a d10 and a percentile d10 to roll percentile, or 4d6s, which is really good for character creation, Now, you're not going to be creating characters in this game, but still nice. You know, you have your spells. Some of them might be 3d6, 2d6, that sort of thing. And then, of course, we've got 1d4, 1d8, and 1d12. So there's your full set of dice. You know, in an ideal D&D campaign or game, I would hope almost every player comes with a full set of dice. That way no one's having to share dice. You're not having to pass dice around, spend time on all of that. So there you have it. In my opinion, it's a solid set of dice. They, I mean, they're just your standard cheap plastic ones, but very interesting color scheme they went with. And I think it's pretty fitting to the Rick and Morty thing. We'll give the D20 as a good old roll. Let's see what we got there. 11 and 14. All right, I mean, hey, over 10. I'm Dungeon Master, so it's not as big of a deal for me what I roll, but it's a big deal for my players. I guess they don't want me rolling high, right? All right, so next thing we're going to delve into here on the physical side of things is the Dungeon Master screen that comes with it. So this here, I know it's not going to be able to fit in the camera, but we'll pan it by so you can see, is the beautiful, well, beautiful might not be the word, but very grotesque, but just wonderful. You're glad to see it. Rick and Morty D&D art on this Dungeon Master screen. Now, it is just cardboard. Pretty flimsy cardboard at that. But it's got some really cool Rick and Morty D&D art on the background. Like, I mean, this is really, really cool. I have to imagine as a player, you know, seeing that set up. Really cool. And then on the flip side, it is a fully functional DM screen. This has everything your standard DM screen has. The only difference is that all of the art on the inside of the DM screen has been replaced with little Rick and Morty versions. So if you can see there, don't know if it'll focus, but if you can see there, those are little Rick and Morty versions of the conditions. And we have Morty versions of like the different size categories and all that stuff. So, very pleased with this DM screen. If you know anything about the starter sets for D&D, and like I said, I'll be covering them on my channel, so if you're watching this in the future, way after it comes out, go check those out. I'm sure they exist, but if you go check out the Stranger Things one, it doesn't come with a DM screen. And the original starter set didn't either. It's only something they started doing more recently. And I love the fact that it comes with one. As a GM, you know, I'm the DM of our campaign. It is huge being able to hide your notes, being able to hide your dice rolls if you don't like to roll in the open. You know, I like to keep those things kind of secret to my players. I don't fudge my dice rolls, but I do like the secrecy of them, at least some of them. Sometimes just to you know, scare my players, I'll be like, 27 to hit or something like that. But yeah, works really well. It's a good inclusion in any starter set. Alrighty, so next up we have the Lost Dungeon of Wickedness. Big Rick energy here. So, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much. And you guys can go ahead and pause the video and read that if you want to at your own discretion. I don't know if there's spoilers in it, so read that at your own discretion. But I will say it'll be coming in a future video, and if you saw some of the stat blocks in there, not all the stat blocks gets used. That's something that they do in most of these starter sets. They give you more monsters than what's in there, so that if you wanted to write your own campaign to continue afterwards, you have a few things to throw at your players and kind of surprise them. But this is the Lost Dungeon of Wickedness. Now, as you can see, it's 44 pages, if we remember from what the back tells us. And it is a very good adventure, in my opinion. It captures the Rick and Morty-esque part of this set beautifully. So if you are a big fan of Rick and Morty, or if you even like it just a little bit, you kind of like that sci-fi, you kind of like that, you know, futuristic, that side of things, you like the slightly inappropriate, you like the kind of more mature, humorous side. I mean, it is so good for that. It's unlike the Stranger Things one. It would be impossible to finish this in one go. It's probably about 2 to 3 sessions long, depending on how long your sessions are. You could draw it out to 4. You'd be tasked to try to draw it out to 5. So it's not going to be a full campaign, but it is one dungeon, and it is a big dungeon with a lot of very interesting and impressive, well thought out rooms, very intriguing rooms, stuff your players aren't going to see coming. And it is very good for that. So, like I said, check out, if you want to hear more about it, you know, spoiler warning, not on this video, but if you want to hear more about it, go check out my other video when it comes out, going over specifically this adventure. But if you want a non-spoiler review of it, I probably give it a solid 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5. I do really enjoy it. For what it is. It's not going to be this long campaign. It's not going to be this thing where your players' hearts are, you know, their heartstrings are tugged along. I mean, it's just for fun craziness. I mean, it's called The Lost Dungeon of Wickedness, Big Rick Energy. Now, that really sums it up right there. But if that's what you're here for, if you just want to get in and have some fun and see some crazy things, this adventure will do it, and it will last you a couple of sessions. It's not just a one and done thing. Vessel Hydra, which is the Stranger Things one, could be drawn out to 2 sessions. It really could. You're pushing it to try to make it in 1. This one's definitely going to be at least a good 3. And yeah, it is very, very good at what it's supposed to do. So without further ado, we're going to be moving along there. But yes, if you want to hear more about that, go check out the other video once it's posted. I'm posting this one first, so it might not be out yet, but just keep your eyes peeled, and I'm sure it'll be up soon. Alrighty. Moving on. The next thing we have in here, next physical component here, is the rulebook. Now, if you remember my other video, and you saw the rulebook for the Stranger Things starter set, it's maybe 30 pages or something like that. So this one being 64 makes you think, well, man, they probably included a lot more rules. That's actually what I thought at first. That is not the case. The other 64-page rulebook that comes in a D&D starter set is the Essentials Kit, which I will get to covering eventually, but my players are still currently playing through it, so it might be a while. Anyways, that one is 64 pages because it does include more rules, because it includes rules for character creation. In that set, you do create your characters. In this set, you don't. So naturally, you know, people are like, well, what other rules make up the 64? The reason this is 64 pages is because on every single page, I mean, I'm literally sure every single page, there are 1, 2, 3, 8, who knows how many notes from Rick that just make this such a funny read. You know, it's like, I mean, look at this, the Dungeon Master. I mean, this is it. This little paragraph right there, if y'all can see that. I'm pretty sure you can. That's all of it's on this page. That's actual rules. All of this is added stuff. Comic strips, added comments, pictures of the dice. Get this, the 30 plus 10. Notice how they've got stats there up to 30, even though you can only start with a max of 20. That's theirs to show you a simple fact of life. So some things are just better than you, Morty. I mean, a lot of things are better than you, but I also mean here in the world of D&D. See, just funny comments like that. This is by far the best thing in this book. This is the most interesting read of a rule book you will ever have. I mean, we can all relate. Me, probably less than you guys, because I'm gonna be honest, I break open a rule book and I actually enjoy myself. I enjoy reading the rules. I enjoy that whole side of things. I can crack open a rule book and have a good time. But for the majority of people, 64 pages of rules just sounds grueling. In fact, it might even convince some groups to not play. I know when I was first getting into Dungeons and Dragons, before I had really done my research and looked into it, I was overwhelmed. I was trying to create a character. I didn't know what I was doing. I was making a Dragonborn because that sounded cool. I was doing all of these things. And here now, over a year into D&D, my players still are just using the base 4 races because it's given us enough, variety. We're still just playing through starter sets right now. Do I know the rules well enough to play more? Yeah, but we don't really need to. You know, there's so much even in just these sets. I don't know how much I emphasized it in the Stranger Things starter set, but when I make these videos, sometimes I probably come across as quite critical of them. But these starter sets are some of the best bang for your buck I think you can really get. If you have a group of friends or family that you think could enjoy D&D, now this one specifically would be Rick and Morty, so you got to keep that in mind. But for the Stranger Things one, you know, it'd be specifically Stranger Things, or when I get to the regular starter sets, we're talking anywhere from $12, from as low as $12 on like Amazon for like the original starter set, up to 25 or 30. You can get hours of fun out of these things. And I'm seriously mean hours of fun. It does take some time learning the rules. It takes some time, some dedication to understanding your character sheets and that sort of thing. And we'll get to the character sheets. But it is a ton of fun. And this way of writing the rules book, from what I have learned, I mean, even the spells are some of the hardest things to sit through and read. You know, you don't necessarily have to read the spells to understand the rules, but if you choose to, every single spell has some sort of comment, some sort of just thing there to make it more interesting, to get you through the crunch of reading the rules. And that is huge. So this, by far, if you're having a hard time, you know, if you've bought the Essentials kit or the starter set or something and you just cannot get through that rule book, this might be the way. This might be your solution. So, you know, I've fanboyed enough about it, but I truly love the way they did this rule book. And coming from someone who, like I said, I kind of get enjoyment out of reading rules, but still, you know, grueled through every single starter set rulebook, even though they basically say the same thing over and over again. I thoroughly enjoyed reading through this, so definitely a highlight of this box. Alrighty, so this obviously I added in here. This is just my little sheet while I was running the game that I use to keep track of armor class and passive perception, so that I don't have to constantly ask my players, hey, what's your armor class? You know, I don't have to be like, does a 6 hit? You know, well, obviously a 6 wouldn't hit, but does a 13 hit? You know, it's like I can just look and say, okay, well, if it's Kier, yeah, that does hit. But if it's Lion, then no, it doesn't. Alrighty. And we are on to the last bit here of the physical stuff in this box. And that is, of course, the paper. The whole thing is basically paper. Now, I don't know what this thing is here under it, so we're gonna take a glance here. Aha. Yes, advertisement. Get more D&D stuff. 100%, you know, not gonna advertise too much here, but do 100% recommend, if you can, pick up one of these. They will be a full campaign for you. Like I said, this will only last you 3, 4, 5 sessions. These are gonna last you right here. But if you're feeling, you know, proud, you're feeling like a good writer, or you're just feeling like you want to take on a bigger task, you could go all in for the core rulebooks here and even get some adventures. Obviously, I'll be bringing more D&D content, as it's kind of my biggest hobby now. So, yeah. And then, of course, here's just that's the Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons comics I was telling you guys about. So, we're going to throw this little advertisement slip to the side, and we're going to break out the character sheets. Alrighty, now, these character sheets, I have very mixed opinions on them, because at first glance, beautiful character sheet. I mean, the fact that not only they come with character art, right, because they're pre-generated characters. Now, that's the exact same thing that the Stranger Things starter set did. Now, unlike the Stranger Things starter set, they do start at first level here. Now, Stranger Things started the characters at 3rd level. That's a little bit confusing, and it went all the way up to 5th, even though that didn't happen in the campaign. In fact, you never even level up in the Stranger Things starter set. You level up at the end of the adventure, but there's nothing left to do unless your DM writes stuff, right? You will level up in this. You will level up in this dungeon. You should level up twice in this dungeon. You should hit 2nd level and then 3rd level. So there is that. They start at level 1. That's always nice. There are solid pre-generated characters. Now, if you're looking at Meatface here, you probably think what I'm thinking if you know your D&D stuff. That's a barbarian. No, they kept with the normal classes here. So we've got a fighter, we've got a rogue, we've got a wizard, a cleric, and then another fighter. So they've stuck to your power 4 classes. And they've stuck to your power 4 races, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, we got a half orc, we got a half elf, and then a wood elf and a half elf. Okay. And then a human. All right. So first thing when you look at this, and you know, I can agree. Beautiful character sheets. You know, I first looked at these and I was like, these are going to be the best pre-generated characters. Now, I'm a big fan of what the Essential Kit did, and including character creation, because I think that's a huge aspect of the game. But I will say, as far as pre-generated characters go, these are great. Now, the problem does come in that almost every one of these beautiful character sheets, in fact, let me give you a glimpse here of the backside that even steps you through not only their background, fighter, so this kind of gives you an idea of the humans, fighter, gaining levels, that stuff. You've got your personality traits, you've got your features. Everything is detailed so well here. You've got character art for each of these. They look like their TV show counterparts. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. They look like their TV show counterparts. Okay, they even have the player names as the TV show characters. Like I said, I'll get into that in a little bit. The biggest problem and the only downside to these character sheets, I know I've been dragging it on, so I'll spit it out, is that they almost, I think each and every one of them have some sort of flaw. They have some sort of typo, problem, mistype, however you want to put it. So for example, Meatface here has should have a 14 charisma. He has a +2 modifier, okay, and all this charisma-based stuff, +2, performance +2, persuasion +4, but he's proficient, so that, you know, he should have a +2 modifier. But his ability score was a 13. Now, if you know your Dungeons and Dragons, you know that an ability score of 13 is a +1. It's not a +2. So I had to scratch that out. I don't know if you guys can see that there, and add in a 4 and change that to 14. If we look here at Kef Silversun, right? Kef's maximum hit points should be a D8 at its max is 8, plus his constitution. 8 + 1, 9, but he comes with 10 hit points right off the bat. You know, that's a typo. Let's take a look here at Jerry. All right, yeah, Jerry here, all his charisma stuff, he has a 10, right? It just had a 0, which looks weird, right? If you look at our 10 up here, we've got +0. I know that it doesn't make a difference, but they always throw the plus in there, make things linear, make things symmetrical, line them up, right? It doesn't have the plus, and all his charisma-based stats were given a -1, so I had to change those to little +0s. Take a look at Beth here. I think they did the same thing. They don't have the plus on dexterity, and they give her a -1 to the saving throw. And then lastly, let's take a look at Ari over here. Same thing, no plus on the charisma, and then -1 on the charisma skills and the saving throw. So, while in the grand scheme of things, you know, I was able to catch those, I was able to change them, and the characters were perfectly playable, right? I mean, once you caught it, and that's really all that mattered. You might not catch those if you were, you know, by the time, some groups might not know the rules well enough to catch that. And they're just playing wrong then. And that's okay. I mean, if they don't ever catch it, they don't ever know, you know, ignorance is bliss, but it's not okay for an officially licensed, you know, product that's been through testing, it's been through to have typos like that, to have the character sheets wrong, specifically on starter stuff where the players wouldn't know necessarily to fix it. Now, I knew to fix it, and I'm sure some of you guys would have caught it too. But I was also on my third starter set. If this was the first one I had ever cracked open where I was first learning the rules, I might not have caught that because it doesn't have the rules for character creation in the rulebook. You know, in this rulebook that I love so much that I went on and on about how great it is that has all the comments in there. It doesn't have character creation. So you might not, I don't think it goes over like hit point maximum, for example. And so they might not know that Kef's is wrong. So that is the only drawback to these otherwise absolutely gorgeous character sheets that have all the information you need. All the traits and everything are beautifully, you know, written on here. It's just like, I know we haven't covered them yet, but in like the starter set where they have pre-generated characters. The difference is it's got a nice flashy color scheme and you've got the pictures of the characters. Now, obviously they can't do that on the starter set because you're not creating the characters, but you're creating the picture of the characters. They don't know who it is. It might be an elf wizard, but they don't know what it looks like, right? And this they do because it's character themed. And this is going to get me into my last point here of this video, is that a really fun thing I think you can do with this set, if your table is, you know, adventurous enough, no pun intended, you know, but adventurous enough to take it on, is to almost double role play, right? So for example here, we have Kef Silversun. But in this version of the game, Morty is playing Kef Silversun. So if I'm Nathaniel, you know, Nathaniel, Togwomp over here well, Dude12345 is my name on YouTube. Dude12345 over here is playing this character. If I'm feeling adventurous, I can try to roleplay Morty playing Kef. And that's what me and my girlfriend, Meredith, did when we were taking on this adventure, is we tried to capture the characters being played by the characters. Now, like I said, when we did that, I hadn't watched the TV show, and I can say we did pretty good for not knowing the actual characters. But that's a fun little challenge or option that you can do. So, you know, instead of just playing Kier Brevon, you can play Jerry playing Kier Brevon and that sort of thing. Otherwise, yeah, they're solid character sheets, very beautiful. They lay out leveling up all the way to 5th level, even though you won't get that high in this adventure. And they've all got their character traits and everything. The only problem is those few typos. So yeah, to sum everything up here, just went over the character sheets. We've got our amazing rulebook, 10 out of 10 on the rulebook in this. They could not have done better. I don't know what page it's on, but somewhere in here they even have like a critical fail table. I think it's right here. No, that's surprise. That's a surprise table. But yeah, wherever it goes over a critical success, I don't know exactly where it would be in here. Oh, here it is. There we are. We've got a critical fail condition table. Y'all can pause the video, take a look at that if you wanted to. Really good stuff here. Amazing job on this. And again, interesting backs, interesting comments. Makes it really easy to read. We've got, in my opinion, an excellent Rick and Morty adventure. This isn't going to be your long, heart-strung campaign where you've got dedicated players for months or anything like that. But if you want a couple of weeks, you know, 3-4 weeks in a row, where you guys can just get together once a week, have a ton of fun, and just slay monsters, do crazy science experiments, have random magical things happening, this is where it's at. You're going to have a ton of fun. The only thing I can say is that the way they glue bind these books can make some pages fall out. I do have a few pages in the very back beginning to fall out. I'm pretty gentle with my stuff, so I don't think it was me. It could have been. Just keep that in mind, but as long as you're careful with it, it should be okay. You're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, most of these boxes don't come with DM screens, so it's always good to see that this one did. it makes it more of a realistic, well, not realistic, but more of a genuine feel while you're playing the game, to have your game master or dungeon master, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons here, dungeon master behind that screen, rolling those rolls secretively. And then, of course, you've got your full set of well-painted and, you know, not necessarily good quality, but not necessarily bad quality dice thrown in there as well. So like I said, you can check out video 2 if you want my opinions on the actual adventure itself that's included. But as far as the physical components and everything you're going to get with this starter set, it is a solid probably 9 out of 10. They did do better with the Essentials kit, and we'll be getting to that when those videos come out. But I will say they include a lot here. Now, as I've already said, the adventure isn't going to last you months. It's not going to be this long campaign. So you're not getting as much bang for your buck. You're only going to be able to draw out maybe 3-4 sessions. But that being said, you could always get a different group of friends together. Or maybe you were a player the first time and you want to give GMing a shot or DMing a shot for another group. You could always get a couple of playthroughs out of this. And of course, if we're talking 3 or 4 3-hour sessions, that's still 12 hours out of your 25 or 30 bucks. I don't know. Let's check it out. Let's see what the MSRP is on this. Let me throw this back in here. Let's see. $29.99. So you're $30. That's still some good bang for your buck, and it's going to be a ton of hilarious, just humorous fun with all sorts of wacky things going on. So this box is definitely a solid 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoy this content, be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Make sure you don't miss out on that second video. I'll be doing a very brief spoiler-free review right at the start, so you can still go check it out. And then, of course, if you plan on playing this or, you know, don't want it spoiled for you for any reason, you will have to leave the video at that point. But go check that out. Go check out the Stranger Things video and some of the other playthroughs that I have going on with just myself, or even I have a few playthroughs with me and my girlfriend Meredith. Other than that, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.